sure if everyone sits now or. But if you couldn't tell, I'm an American, and this is the first time I've done one of these. So please be seated. Good evening. Tonight's meeting is the last officially for Councillor Hannah Gray's mayor. This end of term brings along with it thoughts and memories of a year of challenges as we faced a worldwide pandemic. However, it also serves as a beacon of hope and a picture of perseverance as our Madam Mayor dutifully and enthusiastically served the people of Bromley. Councillor Gray achieved much as she supported the businesses and residents of the borough, as well as graciously supporting her two charities, the Chartwell Cancer Trust and Cystic Fibrosis Supporters. Thank you, Councillor Gray, for your faithfulness and for your wonderful example. Please join me in a word of prayer. Eternal Father, we ask for your holy presence to be with us as we lay aside the thoughts and concerns of our day, seeking your guidance, wisdom, and support as we come to order for this meeting. We pray for the families and friends of Peter Woods and Trevor Vance. May your peace and comfort encompass them. We give thanks for all of the staff, the councillors and mayor of the Bromley Borough Council for their dedication and commitment through what has been a challenging year. We give thanks, Father, for all that has been achieved by outgoing Mayor, Councillor Hannah Gray, and ask for your continual guidance in her life. And we pray your blessing on Councillor Russell Miller as incoming mayor. Strengthen him with wisdom and grace as he takes the reins as mayor of our beautiful borough. Father, bless this meeting and all who are present. Please join me in saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. Amen.
Welcome to the annual meeting of the Council in this splendid location. May I thank the Churchill Theatre for allowing us to meet here tonight. I particularly welcome our newest member of the Council, Councillor Ryan Thompson of Crystal Palace Ward. I also congratulate Councillor Peter Fortune and former Councillor Marina Ahmed on their election to the Greater London Assembly. I also need to inform the Council of one very sad piece of news from Councillor Cathy Bance, a former mayor of our borough, that her husband Trevor has passed away. Please join me in a few moments of silent contemplation. A little housekeeping. Can I remind everyone to keep your mask on unless you're speaking, and to maintain social distancing. May I also remind all members that the first part of our meeting is non-political to celebrate the appointment of our new mayor. You may also like to switch your mobile phones onto silent. Before we move to the appointment of our new mayor, there is one piece of unfinished business from my year in office, which is to thank my predecessor in office for 2019-2020, Councillor Nicholas Bennett. I will now ask Councillor Tony Owen to move the resolution set out in the order of business and comment on Councillor Nicholas Bennett's year of office.
Thank you, Mayor. In a lockdown clear-out, I came across an old address book. It had 1.5 pages devoted to Nicholas Bennett. There are addresses in Lewisham and a dozen other parts of London, Hempstead near Gillingham, Chelmsford in Essex, Reading in Berkshire, and of course, South Wales. Now, I think the council's PR department missed a trick. Man of no fixed abode chooses to settle in Bromley. The addresses are a clue to Nicholas's experience and knowledge of education as a teacher and inspector, as a councillor, MP, Under Secretary of State, magistrate, chief executive, and much else. All this brought a very well-rounded figure to become our mayor. I would like to tell you of just 2 highlights from his year in office. The first was a visit to a sports award evening at Cooper's School. In his speech following the awards, he referred to every award winner by name and praised their achievement. Now, we learn later in life the importance of reward and recognition. Now, I doubt that any pupil received an increase in pocket money, but I can say that Nicholas sent them home bursting with pride. The second highlight came after Nicholas became the first virtual mayor of Bromley and launched a certificate of thanks for key workers. This brought Pettswood and Knoll councillors their biggest postbag of the year as we moved to contain a severe outbreak of certificate envy. Why did so-and-so get a certificate when I've done just as much? Now, as a football commentator might say, it was a year of 2 halves, real and virtual, but both were equally good. And I'm delighted to move the resolution of thanks to Nicholas Bennett for his year in office.
Thank you. I will now ask Councillor Ian Dunn to second the resolution set out in the order of business and to comment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Owen for proposing the motion. It seems like a long time since Nicholas's term as mayor, and it feels like an eternity since we've been in our own council chamber. I feel it's certainly good to get back to in-person meetings, even if we're not yet back in the council chamber. When I came to draft this speech, I sought inspiration in the speech that I made 2 years ago, seconding Nicholas's appointment. And in that speech, I mentioned Nicholas's skill in asking probing questions and speculated whether he would exercise his right under the council's constitution to ask questions from the mayoral chair. Regrettably, and probably much to the relief of the members of the executive who would have had to answer them, he did not. It would have been an interesting development in holding the executive to account. However, he always managed the questions in an extremely professional and efficient way, as we expected he would, and as indeed you have, Madam Mayor. And this leads me on to something which Nicholas did, which no other mayor has done in the 7 years I've been a councillor. He came to a Labour group meeting to tell us how he proposed to run council meetings, and he certainly did exactly what he told us he would do. Finally, I mentioned the role of the mayor in the council's international relations and speculated whether Nicholas's previous visits to North Korea might result in any new international connections for Bromley. Now, sadly, there was no visit to North Korea, but Nicholas's passion for education did result in him joining a delegation to China to visit schools in a manufacturing plant featuring artificial intelligence, keeping up our international profile. In conclusion, Madam Mayor, I'd like to say that Nicholas had a successful and interesting year as Mayor, and I have pleasure in seconding the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do the leaders of the groups wish to speak at this stage? Councillor Colin Smith.
Thank you. Only very briefly, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, I know that Nicholas has waited a whole year for this moment. It was quite unique for somebody not to get an opportunity to say goodbye to council, and I'm, for one, very, very pleased that has been put right tonight. Madam Mayor, Nicholas is, possibly along with Councillor Morgan, the finest orator in group. I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say tonight. But Nicholas, not just from the Conservative group, but from all councillors, thank you for your year in office. You did a great job, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say presently.
Thank you. Councillor Angela Wilkins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, members. I have to say, this is probably the only time that I will address Bromley Council and I have a sea of red in front of me. It's quite nice, actually. But anyway, I think over the years I've realised that each mayor comes with their own style and their own individualism, if you like. And I think for Councillor Bennett, I would say he was a mayor of stature. He had his own individualism and the points that he brought to the mayoralty, and also a booming voice. It was also a year when sometimes the roads were off and sometimes the roads were on. Very often when needed, Councillor Bennett was a very formal mayor, as he should be, but there were also more informal moments. And I also want to mention, as Councillor Owen did, the certificates of gratitude and appreciation, because they did go down very well. People really appreciated them. They were given to businesses that stayed open. At least that's what I did for mine, was businesses that had stayed open during the first lockdown. And last week, I noticed round the corner, there's a little cafe round the corner, and they'd stayed open, so I'd given them a certificate, and they put it up on the wall. A couple of weeks ago, the cafe closed, and the new owners had moved in. And what they've done, they've boarded the front windows with newspaper to block out the building work going on. But right in the middle of this is the certificate of gratitude and appreciation. They weren't open at the time, but nevertheless, it showed how popular they were. But also there was a more informal moment, which I recall, which was in Crystal Palace Park. The weather was pretty much as it has been over the last few days. It was pouring with rain, and it was the school sports day, and Councillor Bennett and I spent a very informal time in the car drinking tea out of polystyrene cups, which was greatly appreciated by me, I must say. But on behalf of the Labour group, I really would like to say a huge thank you for being a tremendous mayor for the year. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkins. Councillor Melanie Stevens.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's not a lot more to say about the way in which Councillor Bennett conducted his mayoral year, but on a personal note, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank him for his regular attendance in Biggin Hill in 2019-2020. You notched up 3 visits in one particular week. You attended many festivals, charity occasions, Shedders barbecues, and joining in a very brief litter pick on one sunny Saturday morning. The breaking ground of a new hangar, forging the way for new business at the airport, was an event to remember. And didn't you look good with your shiny new spade and hard hat, both of which you still have? It's been such a long time ago, the project is near completion. May I also give special thanks to Madam Mayoress Ruth and ex-Mayoress Kira for waving their bras around to help launch the Biggin Hill Bra Fest. We collected over 1,000 bras, with the proceeds going towards much-needed cancer research. I hope that you've now recovered from your busy year and that you've enjoyed your mayoral term. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. Do any other members wish to speak? I don't see anybody's hands or anybody whooping. Okay, if I've missed you, I apologise. The proposition is now put to the meeting. Is this carried? Excellent, unanimous. I now invite Councillor Nicholas Bennett to receive a past Mayor's badge and scroll. now invite Mrs. Ruth Bennett to receive past Mayoress badge. I now invite Councillor Bennett to make a personal speech of his year of office.
Madam Mayor, thank you very much indeed. Looking back through the records, I found that the longest speech made by a retiring mayor was Councillor George Taylor in 2011. Some of you will remember the 48 minutes he took. I've decided instead there will be a 3-hour film about the mayoral year. It will be in all cinemas in the borough at the weekend, and you will see it, if necessary, at gunpoint. But in the meantime, here is the trailer for the film. You think I'm joking, we do actually have a film later from Madam Mayor. Can I start by just saying how great an honour it was to be elected as your mayor in 2019-20. It does seem a long time ago now, so I'm not going to rehearse all the different engagements. But if I could remind you all of the 2 charities that I chose then, because they were very local charities and very dear to my heart. The first was the Latch, living amicably together in caring homes. That looks after young people between 18 and 25 who are homeless. They have now merged with the Bromley Homeless Charity to form a new charity to look after our homeless in the borough. And I and the Mayoress were delighted to go and visit the charity down at the church in the centre of Bromley, to have a meal with them in the evening and to hear the stories of the 12 men and the 1 woman who were that night sleeping in accommodation. It was a very humbling experience because it showed just how close to the edge any of our lives can be when we can be tipped by divorce or something else into being homeless. And so it was an enormous honour that night to see what the Latch was doing. My second charity was Care Plus, and you'll remember that at the time I became mayor, the chairman of Care Plus was our dear colleague Ellie Harmer, who very sadly died only a few months later and was replaced by Maura Morgan as the chairman. So we remember particularly Ellie and the work that she did as part of the charity. And what was important wasn't just the money we raised during the year, but it was raising the profile. And I'm delighted to say that both those charities got a lot of new volunteers from being the mayoral charity in 2019-20. If I could say a word about the highlights of the year. Well, the first highlight was that we had so many schools coming to the Civic Centre. And many of the schools put on mini council meetings, and it was very nice to be able to join the mayor of the day, who was usually 10 years old, sitting in the mayoral chair, and to take part in those meetings. And that's why, as the Design and Heritage Champion, I raided the council's museum store, because there are a lot of archives and a lot of goodies sitting in a store in Orpington which ought to be open to the public. And so you'll find in the Mayor's Parlour all sorts of bits of story of the history of Bromley on the walls, and indeed the Orpington District Council Chairman's chair has pride of place in the Mayor's Parlour. And the children really do enjoy those stories, and they do enjoy hearing about the history of the borough. Another role of the Mayor is the citizenship ceremonies, and I was delighted that we were able, until March, to have them every 2 weeks. And my Deputy Mayor, Kira, was a brilliant partaker of the ceremonies because, of course, she herself had obtained British citizenship. But it was a great honour to be able to talk to people who had chosen our country to be their home, and for them to realise what a great country they were becoming citizens of. One of the things we always like to point out, that if Bromley was a country in the United Nations, we'd be country number 180 out of 233. So there are 50 countries in the UN who have a population smaller than Bromley. And that always goes down well. Of course, the other interesting fact which we like to tell them is that the Darwin ward, where's Richard, is he here? The Darwin ward of the London Borough of Bromley is bigger than the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. So we'd just like to put the people of Kensington and Chelsea in their place. So the citizenship ceremonies are very important. Other highlights of the year, we started off the historic commercial vehicle run to Brighton from Crystal Palace. And we went down in a vintage bus to Brighton. And the Mayoress, talking to the Conservative Mayor of Brighton, which is a rarity given the Conservatives do not control Brighton Council, said, we got up at 6 o'clock. And the Brighton Mayor said, I was on my market stall at 5:30 this morning. So we were put in our place. But it was a fantastic day out. And I'm hoping Russell, when he becomes Mayor, that perhaps the run will be back up and operating on the first Sunday of May next year. And we also had various other highlights, one of which was going to Biggin Hill so often. At some stages I thought I was the Mayor for Biggin Hill and not for the rest of Bromley. On one occasion we adopted 3 kittens from the Bromley House Cat Rescue. And we took them home in the mayoral car, and they've ever since been complaining about not being in a limo again. The first kittens are now 2 years old, and in human terms that's something like 25, so they're complaining about lockdown all the time. But that was a joyous part of the trips to Biggin Hill, was to pick up some new kittens for the Bennett household. Other excitements were the elections. We had 2 unexpected elections in 2019-20. First of all, the European election, which I don't think any of us were expecting. And then in December, we had the general election. And again, an election which we weren't expecting. And I say to Russell, next year, Russell, you've got the borough elections in your term of office. When you go around the polling stations, make sure Neil takes you to the Blacksmith's Arms in Down for a very good lunch, because it's well recommended as being the high point of visiting the polling stations. So it was a fascinating year. As has been mentioned already, sadly COVID-19 brought the year to a juddering halt in early March. But we were able to do 2 videos on the council website, particularly looking for volunteers to help with the crisis and to man the phones and to take part in visiting people who were not able to leave home. And also, as been mentioned, the Mayor's Certificate of Appreciation. I think I delivered something like 1,000 myself, but I want to thank the other colleagues who delivered shopping centres. Mentions made of Pets Wood. Those councillors didn't actually deliver the certificates. All they did was send me emails saying, you've missed out this one, please go round there. Yes, we did do something like 1,500 different premises during the course of the mayoral year. And what was important is we realised that key workers are not just the ones we know about, like the National Health Service, the police, the fire brigade, the supermarket workers, the funeral directors, all those other parts of our civic society which keep us going when most of us were in lockdown. So it was a great honour to do that. I'm going to say, even now when I go into my local chemist shop, there's the certificate sitting on the front. It really did make a difference. And when there was nothing else we could do, I thought that was something very important. And the final highlight, of course, was the visit to China. And I see Councillor Fortune, now the Deputy Leader of the GLA opposition. Councillor Fortune and I did a double act at every engagement, I think. I did the civic duty and then he did the education bit. I think one lesson we did learn is we won't be copying Chinese schools. One school we went to, they go there at 7 in the morning and they're still there at 7 in the evening. And when we went round, they were all sleeping at their desks, having had their lunch. I don't think if we suggested that for the Bromley schools, we'd get very far. The other highlight of being in China is we did celebrate a very significant birthday, that of my Deputy Mayor, Kira. And this gives me an opportunity to thank Kira, Victor, and daughter Lara for the fantastic work they did. They really worked as a team over our municipal year. Really, we couldn't have been closer, could we, Kira? So I'm really thankful that Kira took on the role of being Deputy Mayor, particularly as it was only our second year on the council. So thank you very much, Kira, for all the work you did. Then I must also thank the Mayoress, my wife, Ruth. Now, most of you know Ruth. She was a councillor here for 16 years. She's a bit annoyed that having retired from the council, suddenly after 1 year, she's back doing council business again. And Ruth did a fantastic job attending a large number of engagements. But because she's got a full-time job working for Bob Stewart, is Bob here? Bob's such a hard taskmaster that, you know, she had to ask for time off. But when she couldn't get the time off, because she was working, I had a line of deputy mayoresses. Tracy, Maggie, Jackie, Catherine. They were fantastic. They stood in for Ruth when she was not available. And indeed Christine, I think, did one as well. Stood in. A previous mayor said, well, I don't think that's a good idea, having all these deputy mayoresses. People will think you're having affairs with them. Well, when I told Ruth that, she said, if they do your ironing, they're welcome to you. But I have to say, once a policewoman, always a policewoman, eh, Kim? Anyway, my harem kept me under control, as did my spiritual advisors. I want to refer to my chaplains, because 2019-20, like 1978 when we had the 3 popes, we had the 3 mayoral chaplains. Father Tom McHugh started the year and promptly retired after doing 1 meeting. Then we had Father Matthew, who was brilliant, and Father Matthew is here to receive a badge later on. Father Matthew, wonderful sense of humour, and indeed I've got his book of jokes behind me. And then he was sent by the Archbishop to Charlton, and Father Peter took over for the rest of the mayoral year. So I want to thank my 3 chaplains for all the brilliant work they did, and indeed keeping me in line as they ought. And that really brings me on to the staff, because none of the mayor's job can be done without the staff. And what a brilliant team we have here in Bromley. Margaret, Mother Hen, keeping control of the office. What a taskmaster she is. She got through 3 young interns in the course of the year. Ben, Alex and Aldous. I think Aldous is still with us, Andy, is now in your office? When he was well trained up by Margaret, but every time I turned up, a new young man had arrived in Margaret's harem. So thank you to Margaret for a really fantastic team. And I can't forget also Joanne. Is Joanne somewhere? I can't see Joanne, but she's here at the back. And Natalia, who joined the office during the year. They have been fantastic, a really good team. They kept us laughing, they kept us in cups of tea, and Kira and I really enjoyed having our parlour meetings with the staff. So thank you for everything you did. Everything ran smoothly. And lastly, of course, there are wonderful attendants. We had a repeat performance by Kim Kilroe Burns, who came over from Greece to do a bit of driving, and also Peter Dunn. We discovered we'd both been at Sussex University, but not at the same time. And lastly, Neil. Now, Neil, you see that man dressed like a Victorian beadle who's about to say, Oliver Twist, you can have no more food. Underneath that grim visage beats a heart of gold. He really did make our year fantastic. A word in your ear, Mr. Mayor, you step this way, you do that, nothing ever went wrong. And can I just say to Russell, when you get into the car, Russell, at the end of this evening, you'll find on the back seat a piece of paper. It'll actually be 9 pages, I think, last time I saw it. And Neil will say to you, this is work in progress. Would you cast your eye over it, Mr. Bear? And it's all about what the mayor and the attendant do. Do not be fooled. This isn't work in progress. These are your instructions for the year. Do carry them out, because if you don't, you'll be in trouble. The other thing you've got to learn is never argue with Google navigation, because Google navigation always wins the day, even when you say, I think we could go another route. No, Google navigation wins. The only time you're allowed to contradict to the mayoral attendant is if you find the car is going to Coney Hall after the end of the evening. It means that Neil's forgotten you're in the back and he's going home. So that's when you can say, I think something may be a bit wrong here. But thank you very much indeed to all the team for a fantastic year. And thank you to all our colleagues who made the year such a fun. Thank you to all of you as well. And I look forward to greeting our new mayor in a few minutes' time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Nearly 45 minutes. No, I didn't time it. Now, I'd like to invite the past retiring mayor to present badges and resolutions to the retiring mayor's chaplains, Father Peter and Father Matthew.
This is Father Matthew's second volume of jokes, available from all good sellers. Thank you very much indeed. It's been a pleasure. Father Peter, thank you very much indeed. I look forward to seeing you again.
Councillor Bennett, if you would like to say your few words. Would you like to say your few words? Past retiring deputy.
Yeah. I invite the council to thank the past retiring deputy mayor, to record its appreciation of the able and courteous services of Councillor Kira Gabbett and Victor, her husband, when as deputy mayor and consort for the year 2019-20, they represented the morality and the council, and to provide them an attested copy of this resolution.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett. I now invite Councillor Colin Smith to move the resolution of thanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, Kira first moved to the UK permanently in 2001 and became a naturalised British citizen in September 2006. Now, if that isn't lucky enough for anyone in the lottery of life to move to England to get a British citizenship, Kira moved to Bromley in 2010, so it was just getting better and better all the time. Attracted as she was by the borough's wonderful green open spaces and outstanding schools. With a professional background in finance and accounting, Kira's international business experience in the Balkans and the CIS was with a focus on mergers and acquisitions, internal audit and finances, and that came in very handy because as soon as we got the first opportunity, we gave her the Bickley books to look after, and thank you very much for that, Kira, as well. Kira was successfully elected as a councillor to Bickley in 2018, as we all know, and has served as Deputy Chairman for DC, and is currently serving, or was currently serving, on GPNL and planning. In 2018, Kira was appointed as an EA to the portfolio holder for Environment and Community Services, which is a job I know she loved. She has a real passion for the environment. And then in 2019, she broadened her experience when she was made the EA to the portfolio holder for RR and for resources, beg pardon, commissioning and contracts. She has represented the community's interests at a number of planning inquiries and is committed to protecting the borough's green and open spaces. Drawing on her experience in financial management, Kira is actively involved in the local community and organisations, currently serving as the Treasurer for Bromley and Chislehurst Conservative Association, Treasurer for the Shortland Safe Neighbourhood Ward Panel, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, for Bickley Ward. Kira served as a school governor and as a local committee member at Highfields Junior School between 2016-19, attended by her 11-year-old daughter. Madam Mayor, perhaps slightly more light-heartedly, in her period as Deputy Mayor, Kira attended many community events in the borough, at churches, care homes and schools, cultural hubs, and from Christian services to Hindu festivals. She led the Remembrance Sunday Memorial Service at Orpington Memorial, and that's an experience, she tells me, was one of her highlights of the year, and that she was thoroughly honoured to fulfil. Mentioned earlier, her naturalisation certificate, which she was given by the Mayor of Greenwich in 2006, and I was struck by this when she told me. I thought this was really nice. She was told at the time by whoever gave it to her, the Mayor of Greenwich, that one day you could be conducting a citizenship ceremony like this yourself. Quite strange how it actually came to fruition, but a nice story, I thought. Kira has a connection with Bromley, a strange connection, going back to the 70s at the Keston Institute, where work was done about the revival of the Russian Orthodox Church, undertaken by a chap called Michael Bordeaux, who I know that Kira's keen to mention a little bit later, so I won't spoil her thunder on that. To finish, 2 highlights that I had to tell you about when she told me about them. Carry this with you because it could be a quiz question at some point, and she does like her quizzes, as you'll hear. She did a regional competition in inorganic chemistry when she was 15-year-old and won it. Again, there's something there around her interest in the environment and all things natural. And perhaps more importantly, not to worry, because she's also had medical training and is definitely the person, should you need it, for either the kiss of life or indeed to insert an IV line into your left arm, were you ever to need it. So do not fear, Kira is here. Madam Mayor, Kira is a tour de force at a ward councillor. Kate Lyman, Councillor Lyman and I are very, very lucky to have such a keen, dedicated colleague on the ward. She's an absolute pleasure to work with, and Madam Mayor, I'm very, very happy to move the vote of thanks for Kira. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. And now I'd invite Councillor Kate Lyman to second the resolution of thanks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to second the vote of thanks for the past retiring Deputy Mayor. Councillor Gabbett was a hugely popular Deputy Mayor and an exemplary ambassador for Bromley. Her tenure was almost a complete success, with her only failure being her inability to adequately roll the first bowl at one of the Mayor's bowling competitions. However, she was comforted by the organisers of the event, who awarded her a consolation prize in the form of a delicious cream tea. On the plus side, anyone who knows Councillor Gabbett well knows she's a teeny-weeny bit competitive when it comes to quizzes. When it came to attending the Mayor of Sevenoaks charity quiz, Kira carefully hand-selected a crack team of fellow councillors to be in her Deputy Mayor Bromley's quiz team. Deadwood, like me, were not invited. Quizzes to Kira are not about having fun, they're all about winning. But her efforts paid off and her team won. So as you can imagine, Kira was overjoyed to bring the trophy back to Bromley. To conclude, Madam Mayor, I thank the past retiring Deputy Mayor, Councillor Gabbett, ably accompanied by Victor and Lara, for her service to the London Borough of Bromley, and I congratulate her on her many achievements during her year in office.
Thank you, Councillor Lyman. Is that proposition carried? Unanimously. I invite the past retiring Mayor to present the resolution to the past retiring Deputy Mayor. I now invite the past retiring Mayor to present a resolution to the past retiring Deputy Mayor's consort. I now invite the past retiring Deputy Mayor to make a personal speech.
Dear colleagues, distinguished guests, councillors, MPs, good evening. I'm truly and deeply honoured to have served as Deputy Mayor of Bromley in 2019-2020. And I thank, of course, Councillor Nicholas Bennett for putting his trust in me and for allowing me so many opportunities to attend official engagements over my term. Councillor Bennett always supported, encouraged and believed in me even at times when I myself did not. So I thank him very much for that. That's very important to me. We had a lot of fun in the office, in the Mayor office, and I really enjoyed our weekly meetings, the parlour meetings, where we decided who would go to whatever engagements were available at the time. So I'd like to thank, of course, Margaret and the office for their support, and they've been absolutely brilliant and wonderful. I would also like to thank my ward colleagues, Councillor Smith and Councillor Lima, for their very kind comments and for some secrets being let out by Councillor Smith today. You've encouraged me and you've helped me, and you weren't even angry with me because I decided to become Deputy Mayor in my second year after being elected, so thank you for that. Finally, of course, my thanks goes to my consort, my husband, my daughter Lara. She attended many events with me, and also to those councillors present in this room today or not, who attended many events with me when my consort couldn't accompany me. So thank you very much for that. My last official engagement as Deputy Mayor took place in the first half of March 2020, and very shortly after that, the country went into the lockdown, and our lives changed forever since. So that was sad because our mayoral year sort of was cut short. However, I try to remember that many residents and many families in the borough suffered losses, whether losses of their loved ones, of their health, their businesses, possibly their incomes. But it was absolutely extraordinary to see how the council leaders, the community leaders, the volunteers have all stood together in the face of adversity. As you know, I always like to say and repeat always how much I love living here, and I'm so proud to call Bromley my home. Now I stand even more proud of our residents, of our volunteers, of our communities. I'm really, really proud to call Bromley my home. In my year as Deputy Mayor, I've seen parts of the Bromley Borough that I've never seen before, because Bromley Borough is very big and you don't get to know the borough that well. So that was absolutely wonderful. I met many residents and many volunteers, each and every one of them doing small and big things that ultimately have a huge impact in our communities. I attended church services and Hindu festivals. I did youth lessons, infant schools and care homes, charity events and summer fairs, and each and every visit I shall fondly remember and treasure. Talking about the highlights of my year, definitely the citizenship ceremony, because I could always look back on my own experience. As has been said before, I received my own citizenship certificate in 2006. It was a very proud day for me. And I remember everyone dressed up and all people in the room were so happy, and we had teas and so on. So this is exactly what's happening in Bromley. It's a very joyous, lovely occasion. We tried to make it sort of into a mini celebration, and we'd like to talk to people, like to talk about their families, about what they're doing, how they're involved in the life of communities in Bromley. And so I made some friends. I've probably met 5 or 6 people who I'm still in touch with. So I'm very proud of that. That was wonderful. A visit to China, and thank you very much for mentioning a significant birthday. Wasn't really needed, but yes, we did celebrate. Yeah, so that was brilliant, and we had experienced something that was in ways unexpected. It was interesting to see how education system works in another country, and I know that Councillor Fortune also, obviously being portfolio holder, enjoyed that newly acquired knowledge about how the schools work over there. Yes, I wasn't very good at throwing balls, so Bowling Green probably, they won't be inviting me anytime soon. They did in fact say that perhaps I should be trying and joining the other team, not that team, so they were not that kind to me. And definitely quizzes, and thank you so much to those councillors who are here today who helped us score that victory at the Mayor of Seven Oaks quiz, so that was wonderful. That's right, I can see several here. So thank you very much again. Thank you very much to the council officers as well. You've been absolutely amazing, and your support has been valued whenever I had any questions about anything really. You know, the legal officers were always there to help, and you know, everyone was really, really helpful. It really felt like being part of a family in a way. And me and Councillor Bennett, we grew very close together, and you know, it of course started hopefully a lifelong and very deep friendship. Thank you again. I'm very proud, honoured to have had such an opportunity, and I hope I may have another opportunity at some point in the future to represent the borough in some capacity, one or another. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, Councillor Gabbett. Now to the election of the Mayor of the London Borough of Bromley. I now call Councillor Michael Turner to propose that Councillor Russell Mellor be elected the Mayor of the Borough.
Madam Mayor, it gives me very great pleasure to propose Councillor Russell Lawrence Mellor for the office of Mayor for the ensuing year. Councillor Mellor has given long and distinguished service to this council and to the people of the London Borough of Bromley over a period of no less than 31 years. He first became interested in politics in 1959 when he joined the North Lewisham Young Conservatives, and on moving to Beckenham in 1962 he joined the Beckenham Conservative Party. Russell Mellor was first elected to this council for the ward of Bromley Common and Keston in 1978 and served for 8 years until 1986, during which time he was a member of the General Purposes Committee and the Development Control Committee and was chairman of Plans 2 Subcommittee for 7 years. During this period he was appointed leader of a group known as the Forum, which is a group of backbenchers opposed to the loss of the 5 grammar schools in Bromley, and it was successful in retaining 2 of them, as we know, St Olave's and Newstead Woods, both of which, of course, have achieved a high reputation for academic success. He was also chairman of governors of Elmfield Girls' School, where he successfully negotiated the task of closing the school and relocating the pupils to other secondary schools. In 1998, Russell was re-elected to the council, this time representing Copus Cope Ward. He was appointed chairman of the Property and Finance Subcommittee, which he restructured to incorporate the functions of the pension fund, as well as reorganising the housing benefits system payment and the collection of council tax. He also served as chairman of the Environment Services Operational Subcommittee and vice chairman of the Investment Subcommittee, as well as being a member of the Senior Officer Appointment Board. In 2001, he was appointed a trustee of the Beckenham Parochial Charity. In 2002, he was elected chairman of the General Purposes Committee, which he prepared then for its new licensing responsibilities. In 2003, Councillor Russell became leader of the council, a post which he coupled with being the portfolio holder for resources. In this capacity, he successfully undertook the transfer of Crystal Palace Park Complex to the Greater London Authority, thus saving the council £800,000 on the revenue account for 2003-4 and £2.5 million on the capital account for that and subsequent years. He also then established the outsourcing of the council's leisure activities to the Maritime Trust. Councillor Mellor was appointed a commissioner on the Commission for the London Government's Review, which ran from 2003 to 2004, and recommended that the existing arrangements be maintained. In 2004, he became chairman of the local Joint Consultative Committee, remained in that post for the next 17 years, and it was during this time that the local pay and conditions scheme was initiated. From 2005 to 2008, he was chairman of the Resources Policy Development and Scrutiny Committee. In this post, he originated and developed the Members' Scrutiny Toolkit, which has subsequently been adopted by other local authorities, and initiated the review and established fundamental guidelines for the Working Party on the Constitution. He also initiated the review of the Members' Allowance Scheme, which was adopted by the Council. Councillor Mellor was appointed to the Youth Employment Scheme in 2006, the scheme with the specific aim of creating job opportunities for the young people of Bromley. From a zero start, it had, by April of 2021, achieved a total of 148 apprentices and a further number of permanent positions. His then is a record of 31 years of distinguished service, during which time he has been associated with some of the major developments that have taken place both in the London Borough of Bromley and in local government in general. Madam Mayor, I move.
Thank you, Councillor Turner. I now call Councillor Julian Bennington to second.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm delighted to second Councillor Russell Mellor for Mayor of the London Borough of Bromley for the next term till 2022. I've known him since I was elected to the council in 2006. He has lived in Beckenham since 1962. In 1964, he married Geraldine, who is sitting beside him, his wife, obviously many years. And I'm very sure I've known Geraldine for this time as well, and I'm sure she will make an excellent mayoress, shall I say, together with their two sons. Russell was a wartime baby. He's evacuated to Dorset, returning to London on the return of his father. He continued his education, later obtaining an Open University degree in humanities, majoring in history of art, and this has supported his lifelong interest in art and history. He performed his national service at the age of 17 in the Royal Navy and served in HMS Bulwark, which served in the Suez Crisis in 1956. So he has some military experience as well, which can only be to his credit. His business life was primarily focused on two principal roles. First, as a senior partner in a firm which designed and manufactured aluminium curtain warding for the construction industry. The second was his fulfilment of his great interest and love of wine. He formed his own company, which successfully sells fine wines to academia. He was able to register Mellors as a brand name, promoting a range of fine wines and a particular niche market of port. He also holds the brand name of College, which offers a less expensive range of wines for students. Now, members, you will all be invited to the Mayor's reception sometime during the year, maybe several times. When you go, make sure that you have the Mellors fine wines and not the College for these students. We want the Sancerre, not the Van der Pay, Mr. Mayor-elect. He's a freeman of the City of London, a freeman of the Worshipful Company of Stationers and newspaper makers, and a liveryman of the Worshipful Company of Distillers. He is also a Fellow of the Institute of Directors and a member of the Institute of Marketing. He has also served as President of the Bromley Division of the St John Ambulance Brigade. His other interests are in the countryside, being a hiker, horseman and keen shooter, and is a member of one of his livery company's shooting teams. So obviously his service in the Navy at least trained him for something on that. Madam Mayor, I can think of no better person to represent this borough as Mayor, and I formally second the notion that the Mayor-elect, Councillor Russell Mellor, be elected to the office of Mayor for the London Borough of Bromley for the civic year 2021 to 2022. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bennington. Are there any other nominations? This could be the awkward moment. No, luckily not. The proposal is now open for debate. Anybody like to speak? No. The proposal is that Councillor Russell Mayor be appointed as Mayor of the London Borough of Bromley for 2021-2022. Is that carried? Unanimous. Lovely.
Councillor Mellon, please join me to take the declaration of acceptance of office. Councillor Mellon, do you accept the appointment to the office of Mayor of the London Borough of Bromley?
I do, and I will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties thereof according to the best of my judgment and ability. And I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of the members of the London Borough of Bromley.
Members of Parliament, councillors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please remain upstanding to receive the Worshipful the Mayor of the London Borough of Bromley, Councillor Russell Mellor.
Members of the Council, I thank you for the great honour of being your Mayor for the coming year. My address will, my Mayoress will be my wife, Mrs. Geraldine Mellor, and my chaplain will be the Reverend Canon Jeremy London of St George's Parish Church, Beckenham. I want to celebrate the importance of our traditions in Bromley during my year in office, and I have therefore asked our Chief Executive to wear the traditional robes for future meetings, and I'm delighted to say that his reply was correct and yes. The last year has been truly horrendous, with member contact confined to the virtual world. In order to revitalise our social activities, I have arranged a ball for the 16th of October at the Metropolitan Police Sports Ground, the Warren. Further events are in the planning stage. It is my intention to create a further social event, which will be the Bromley Bridge Tournament. And this will give an excellent result to those who wish to participate. And the feedback from that has been extremely positive. I commend my two charities to you, the Shipwreck Mariners and Fishermen's Society and the Beckenham Parochial Charity. And both have the same aim in that the funds are aimed directly at genuine deserving causes, particularly children of our infant and junior schools. Our venue this evening is due to the effects of the pandemic, coupled with the legal requirement for our annual meeting to be held prior to the end of May. I record formally our appreciation and thanks to the management of the theatre for enabling us to fulfil our obligations. Thank you. I now move on to ask Councillor Judy Ellis to move the resolution in the order of business and to comment on Councillor Hannah Gray's year of office. Councillor Ellis.
Wow, what a good choice we made last year. Hannah has made a virtual online mayoralty seem normal, engaging, interesting and personal. I know, as everyone does here, that she's an experienced communicator. She's also not camera shy, and she has her Spielberg or Mr. DeMille, who's been helping her out and with his technological knowledge. And she's someone who says, when there's a problem, how can we make this work? I've seen pictures of her, as I'm sure you all have, that she's posted regularly, and I'm sure the one she really enjoyed was with the bikers. I quite enjoyed that one too, and envied her. She's been with the volunteers, NHS workers, and the business community. She's thanked them for their charity and paid work, and this is what's kept Bromley going. She has led us also in very serious moments of remembrance and grief. But more importantly, she's kept councillors under control. Council meetings have been very interesting online. She's been advising them where the mute button is, because we've had a lot of assistance to councillors being offered from partners and children, which is not always taken. Well done. Your mayoral year will not be forgotten. The limitations on face-to-face and group meetings have in some ways widened our participation, and your podcasts and newsletters have been highly personal but very professional. I'm sure you've missed out on many things, but the borough is very grateful to you for your input and skill in making 2021 a year with many good things to remember. I therefore am happy to propose the resolution of thanks to Councillor Hannah Gray.
Thank you. I now ask Councillor Peter Morgan to second the resolution set out in the order of business and to comment.
Mr. Mayor, honoured guests, Alderman, Freeman, councillors and guests. This is a great honour and privilege to be able to second this resolution. It's been an extraordinary year, but we are fortunate to have had an extraordinary mayor. Now, I guess that not since the Black Death in the Middle Ages has a person in office been so unable to mix with their residents. But here she is. It's so sad that she has not been able to go around and do all her functions in real life. And I'm informed that there are a load of very glamorous dresses in a wardrobe somewhere waiting to be seen. And that is very sad as well. But nevertheless, she has, as you have read in this paper, done many, many things. She's told me 229 virtual engagements. Zoom must be very grateful to her, including award ceremonies, and she's continued this thank you certificate you heard Councillor Bennett talk about, and she's been to visit the vaccination centres to encourage the people there. I don't think she's actually jabbed anybody, but she's been cheering them on, which is hugely helpful to them and everybody else. And of course, as you've heard, she's been running the virtual council meetings, a complete novelty for everybody, but she's managed it. Her qualities include being clever, elegant, poised, polite, efficient and organised, and not least, she is completely abreast of modern technology. She has modernised the mayoralty, and that's going to be her one really lasting impression upon this borough, and may that grow. We have a better website. She's introduced videos, which you can see through there, podcasts. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Not sure what all these things mean, but I'm told that they are wonderful, and indeed, of course, they are. One of the events that she did is in here, the National Day of Reflection for those that lost their lives in the epidemic, had 4,500 views and also appeared on the national news. So, you can't really get much wider than that, can you? It's fantastic. And if all these things that she has instituted promote an interest in our population, in our civic affairs, then that is wonderful. That will promote people taking interest in politics, in the affairs of the council, encourage people to stand as councillors and work in local authorities. That's all really good. So what a year. Extraordinary year, as I said. It's been a sad one in some ways for Councillor Gray. Her charities, of course, will have suffered as well, which is also sad. But we are grateful to her for her real leadership at a time when we really have needed it. And above all things, this is the one thing that I remember about Hannah. She's always cheerful. And at this kind of time, this kind of year, that's been so important to so many people. And that's come across in a virtual way as well as in real life. So it's been so encouraging for everybody. So I'm hoping that maybe she can be persuaded to stand again when she will be able to exercise all those talents and wear those glamorous dresses. Very important. So I'm very pleased to second this resolution of thanks.
Thank you. We now move on to the next item. Will the leaders of the groups wish to speak at this stage? Councillor Smith.
Mr Mayor, sir, may I firstly congratulate you on your appointment to post. Nice to be the first. It doesn't happen very often, but I can't think of a more distinguished way to end a very distinguished career at the council. So many congratulations, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, of the former Mayor, of Madam Mayor, what a year. A year like any other, no other. You've adapted, you've taken technology to areas us men of a certain age just are frankly lost at times. But I think if I made a standout moment, and I think everyone there, the hair on the back of our necks stood up, was the candle event, 740 candles for sadly 740 Bromleyans that fell to the pandemic. And I think I speak for everyone that was there that night. That was something that will long live in the memory. So I will leave it there, Mr Mayor. I'm conscious time is rattling on with more to do, but congratulations, Hannah, a great year. And indeed, Mr Spielberg in the corner there. You couldn't have done it without each other, I think, so well done to Colin as well.
Wilkins, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think due to COVID, Councillor Gray has had one of the, a uniquely challenging year, to be honest. I've got to say, having used Teams and Zoom, she's managed to conquer WebEx, which for me is a real triumph. And I'm dying to know whether anybody's counted how many times you said, "You're on mute, councillor," because it'll be scary, I'm sure. As I said in relation to Councillor Bennett, each mayor has their own trademark, and I think in a tough time, you have delivered the role with style, panache, and, to use Councillor Morgan's word, glamour. And also with that innovation, and also, I also noticed the newsletter. I think the new format for the newsletter is really impressive. I love it, so I hope it lasts. And I'm also delighted that you were able to come along to Crystal Palace Park to unveil the Bob Marley plaque. If you'd like to come back this year, there'll be live music in front of the very same concert hall, so I hope you do. I hope we have the new members there too. So from the Labour Group, it's a massive thank you to you for a tremendous job in an incredibly difficult year. And I would also like to close by congratulating Councillor Mellor on his election as Mayor for the coming year, and also to say that I'm looking forward to your first podcasts. Thank you.
Councillor Melanie Stevens, do you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Like my colleagues, I would like to welcome you to your new post and wish you every success and enjoyment in your mayoral year. May I also take the opportunity to thank Councillor Gray, and I echo the words of my colleagues. COVID had a huge impact, but you were not to be deterred. You threw yourself into everything to make your mayoralship year a success. 2020-21 will go down in the history books as a very different way of working. You were never going to be thwarted. You wore your robes at every opportunity and worked tirelessly in finding alternative ways in which to fulfil your duties. You continued to greet people wherever you could, socially distanced, of course, meeting so many volunteers and support personnel who without Bromley would have lost so many lives. Thank you also for your visits to Biggin Hill, all much appreciated by all our volunteers and our visor makers. I know that you were frustrated about not being able to host events and parties to raise funds for your charities, but you must be proud of yourself and your teams for all the money that you have raised in a very difficult time. Mr Mayor, we in Biggin Hill are planning our normal routine and annual events to which you will be invited, and we hope that you can join us. Let's hope it will be more in person rather than over the airwaves this year. Thank you, Councillor Gray. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Do any other members wish to speak? There being none, the proposition is now put to the meeting. Is it carried? Thank you, that is unanimous. I now invite Councillor Hannah Gray to receive a past Mayor's badge. Thank you very much indeed. I now invite Councillor Colin Hitchins to receive a past Mayor's consort badge. I now invite Councillor Gray to make a personal speech on her year of office. Yes.
Yes, it has been an unusual year, hasn't it? And thank you all for your very kind words. But it's been a very poignant and special year for me. Yes, I might not have been able to get those glamorous dresses out, but it's been an absolute honour and pleasure to be the Mayor during such a difficult year for everyone else. I want to say a few quick thank yous before you get Spielberg's film that we're going to have this evening. I want to thank my team, who obviously are absolutely amazing and have thought outside the box. They've had to, and they've had to do it very quickly, and they've had to learn very quickly, and they've all been amazing, every single one of them. I want to thank you all for your support. I have managed to raise somewhere nearly in the region of £15,000 during this year. Which was quite a surprise when Margaret told me, and I was really delighted that we managed to get there. There's obviously a lot of donations that have been made there, as well as a lot of support that I've received from many people, and you all know who you are. I won't name you all personally. I also do want to make a special thank you to the IT team who are hiding wherever they're hiding, because without them we wouldn't have been able to do our online council meetings, and I wouldn't have been able to make the impact that I have. So they have been incredible, as they have been today, to make this all possible for us. They've been working very long hours, so thank you to them. And of course, before we press play, I want to thank Mr. Spielberg for being my director, my producer, my sound engineer, my video engineer and editor, luckily not makeup, luckily not makeup. But yes, if we're ready, if you'd like to press the button, please. I hope you enjoy. This is a taster. Welcome to my closing speech, which you can see is unusually and uniquely a video. Well, let's face it, it's been an unusual year, with words and phrases like unprecedented, challenging, and you're on news becoming commonplace and catchphrases for all of us. We remain very aware, though, that throughout the nation, some people have had an horrific time and have been badly affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. However, despite this, we've seen tremendous community spirit grow, with love and care shown for each other, sometimes in extraordinary and selfless ways. Thank you, Bromley, for allowing me to be your mayor. It's been an honour and a privilege, and I hope you enjoy this taster of what I've been up to in my unusual, challenging and unprecedented year. This is where it all started.
Honourable Alderman, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure that I propose my friend and colleague, Councillor Hannah Gray, as Mayor of Bromley for the municipal year 2020-2021.
Mr Mayor, Honourable Alderman, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure to second the motion to appoint Councillor Hannah Gray as our Mayor.
I, Hannah Gray, having been elected to the office of Mayor for the London Borough of Bromley, hereby declare that I take the said office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties thereof according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe the code as to the conduct which is expected of the members of the London Borough of Bromley.
Honorary Alderman, Honorary Freeman, distinguished guests, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding to receive the worshipful, the Mayor of the London Borough of Bromley, Councillor Hannah Gray.
Good evening, Honorary Freeman, Honorary Aldermen, councillors, distinguished guests, and those of you I can't even see who are joining us this evening from maybe your sitting rooms, your gardens, your kitchens, the marvels of technology. You are all very welcome to this, the first virtual council AGM Bromley has ever had. The first mayor never to hold a council meeting in a council chamber. The first mayor never to take part in the citizenship ceremony. The first mayor never to hold an event in a restaurant and open a bottle of wine with my supporters. I've had many fantastic firsts. I've been to the dump to say thank you. I've been out to thank all of our frontline workers and our volunteers. I've also been to the police, to the ambulance, to the fire brigade. I've seen so much fantastic work in our borough. It's been really an amazing year. The front line against COVID-19. From the outset of the pandemic, I went to visit as many of our frontline workers, volunteers and people going out of their way to help others in order to say thank you and show that we care and value their hard work.
So I am really pleased today to be having the AstraZeneca vaccination because I am 100% convinced it's super safe, and I am so thrilled that I've eventually got on the list, so I'm here. Brilliant.
Hello, I am Councillor Hannah Gray, the Mayor and your Mayor of the London Borough of Bromley. I would like to express my thanks and gratitude for all that you do and continue to do. I wanted to come in person to clap with you, but due to the safety distancing lockdown, I was unable to, and I hope this will help to show our appreciation of you. We're beginning to see some restrictions being lifted, which I know the people of Bromley are desperate for. But I have today made a video for them, asking that they do not let the forthcoming good weather lessen their resolve. The heart of Bromley is strong, and we must keep it up. It's working. The number of tragic daily losses are reducing, and we must keep everyone safe so that you can continue your great work. If there is anything I can do to help, or if anyone would like a phone call from me, then please just call the office. You do great work. Together, let's make sure tomorrow will be a good day. And thank you. Our local shops. We must continue to support our local businesses and help them grow. Remember, it's good to buy local. Hello and welcome. I am delighted to be making this Christmas video for you. I'm here in the Civic Centre in the Palace, in the entrance hall, and I'm joined by my wonderful consort, Councillor Colin Hitchens.
And it's a pleasure to be with you today.
I'm so delighted you have joined me because it's really important that we jointly say thank you to you. I know that this has been a pretty grim year for you and it's been very challenging. You've helped each other in different departments, you've moved around, you've had to work from home, but you have carried on regardless and we are really grateful and it's important that you know that and that we bother to say thank you. the Mayoralty did not have any social media platforms, and I thought it essential that we in the Mayoralty embraced and maximised our use of digital media, as well as the more traditional methods, including a new quarterly newsletter, local magazine column and local radio. I have sown the seeds, long may it continue. Here are some examples that the team and I have created. I visited our emergency services and some key service providers. Our community. National Days. Welcome to Armed Forces Day here at the Civic Centre in Bromley. This is our chance to show how we support and appreciate the men and women who make up the Armed Forces community, from currently serving troops to service families, veterans and cadets.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn.
At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Hello, I'm Councillor Hannah Gray, Mayor of Bromley, and I would like to welcome you to this commemorative service that marks the 76th anniversary of the liberation of the Jewish people incarcerated by the Nazi regime during the Second World War. Hello and welcome to Burns Night. As you can see, I'm not in my parlour, but I thought this was maybe a little bit more appropriate for Burns Night. And although I don't have a kilt, I thought it was important to get dressed up for the occasion. Hello, I just wanted to take this opportunity to wish you a happy St David's Day, here from the palace, with these wonderful daffodils around, the colour and joy that they bring us at this time of year.
Hello, I just wanted to wish you a fantastic St Patrick's Day. I've got my best green St Patrick's Day jacket on. I've borrowed a Guinness glass from my son, which I'll be filling up later. On this day, the 23rd of April 2021, I just wanted to wish you a memorable St George's Day.
Just when we thought our woes couldn't be added to, we received further sad news. Following the official announcement by Buckingham Palace with the sad news concerning His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, the Council has held a 1-minute silence. Both myself and the Leader of the Council, Councillor Colin Smith, were present to represent both the Council and residents to observe the silence as a mark of sympathy and respect.
On behalf of Madam Mayor Hannah Gray, we wish to express our sincere condolences and join millions around the world mourning the passing of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Today, as his body is laid to rest, we ask that you join us in a word of prayer to give thanks to God for His Royal Highness's lifelong love and devotion to the Queen, love for his family, care of young people, and duty in service.
We thank you for sharing in this respect that we have just shown, as we are gathered here in Bromley, joining the nation in the act of remembrance. It is time to remember many years of his public service, his extraordinary support for Her Majesty the Queen, and for more than 70 years as a husband and a consort. We also will continue to reflect on his many initiatives, including the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme, and his early support for the protection of the world's environment, along with our own memories. Naturally, along with the nation, our thoughts and prayers remain with Her Majesty the Queen and other members of the royal family. Thank you for joining us. Dropping into our schools. Around our borough. Behind the camera. Charity fundraising. Hi and welcome to the Spitfire Prize Draw. It's the Mayor's Spitfire Prize Draw, hence I am dressed as the Mayor of Bromley. So I really wanted to thank you today for giving us the prize of this two-seater Spitfire flight. I'm sure that we're going to raise lots of money. We're here at the Heritage Hangar and I'm really, really grateful, Peter. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And it's one thing we like to do here, and that's to support as many charities as we possibly can.
Thank you very much. Darren opens the envelope and he will tell us. Darren, over to you.
Well, good luck everyone. Thanks for supporting the charities. And the winner is Mr. Neil Tully.
Neil, you must have wondered why I wanted you been tough fundraising this year, but I want to thank those that have helped, supported, taken part and donated. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my team, Joe, Natalia, Neil, Peter, and of course the wonderful Margaret, who have faced a very grim, hard, unique year with positivity and an amazing can-do attitude. I have been lucky to have them and have been looked after with outstanding determination and care. Their proactive cold calling has been undeterred even when the phones were put down with disbelief that it really was the Mayor's office calling. And finally, I would like to say, it is thanks to people like you that Bromley is a warm, welcoming and caring place to call home. Please be assured that your time, talents and compassion is recognised and hugely valued and appreciated. We can define our community and the individuals within it by the size of their heart, the power of their hope and the respect that we all share. Thank you for making our tomorrow a better place. I look forward to supporting our incoming Mayor for 21-22, Councillor Russell Mellors. We hope you have an amazing year. The chair is now yours, sir.
To the retiring Mayor's chaplain, Major Angela Strickland. If you kindly come forward. I now invite the retiring Mayor to thank the retiring Deputy Mayor.
I invite the Council to thank the retiring Deputy Mayor, to record his appreciation of the able and courteous service of the Councillor Stephen Wells, when, as Deputy Mayor for the year 2020-2021, he represented the Mayoralty and the Council, and to provide him an attested copy of this resolution.
Thank you. I now invite Councillor Judy Ellis to move the resolution of thanks.
Well, you don't get Superwoman without a sidekick, and that was Stephen. It's a time of isolation and social distancing. It is important to have a good deputy. And as with the Mayor, Stephen, as you know, is passionate about education, was denied a number of opportunities, especially to go to schools and to meet the children. But he carried out a number of visits face-to-face and online, and learnt, as I'm sure Hannah has, many new skills along the way. Our thanks go to him for supporting Hannah, and I'm sure his friendship and commitment to the mayoralty were an important part of the year, and therefore I want to move sincerely the vote of thanks to Councillor Stephen Wells.
Thank you. I now invite Councillor Peter Morgan to second the resolution of thanks.
It again gives me enormous pleasure to second this vote of thanks. Councillor Wells has been known to me since we both became councillors, I think back in 2006, and we served on the cabinet together for many years as well. He is a man of enormous talent, great sagacity, and it's a great shame that he's had to be the Deputy Mayor in this difficult year. He has done everything asked of him. He has been a huge supporter to Hannah, I know, and I know she is enormously grateful to have him as part of her wonderful team. Stephen, you've done wonderful stuff so far as you were allowed to. I know you've enjoyed what you've been able to do, particularly attending the Armistice Day celebrations in Beckenham and Orpington. You visited the vaccination centre in Penge. You've been to welcome all the businesses that reopened in Beckenham. And you've even cut the ribbon for the reopening of the Odeon Cinema, as was in Beckenham. So this is all wonderful things. Thank you so much for what you have done, and it gives me enormous pleasure to second the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Is that proposition carried? It is carried. I invite the retiring mayor to present the resolution to the retiring deputy mayor. I now invite the retiring deputy mayor to make a personal speech.
Mr. Mayor, Honourable Alderman, distinguished guests, colleagues, and of course the rest of the boys in the band. This is going to be a fairly short speech. The Mayor's script actually has in 56 point and bold right across this particular section, the Deputy Mayor will make a brief statement. I will, if you will allow me, make a few thank yous. The first are to Councillor Judy Ellis and Councillor Peter Morgan for their very kind words. They are hardly due, I confess. I'd also like to thank, as is inevitable, but it really is a very sincere thank you, to Natalia, to Joe, to the delightful Margaret, and of course to Peter and Neil. This has been a difficult year, as has been pointed out, and I would particularly like to say a huge thank you to Hannah, because she invited me to be her Deputy Mayor at a point when she became aware that she wanted to be Mayor herself, and it was a delight to be able to be invited by Hannah to be her deputy. I think we were going to plan to have a very, very spectacularly good year, and it didn't quite work out that way. However, I am informed that of the 229 events that Hannah attended, I attended 29, and I am delighted to say a number of them were extremely special to me. A few days ago, I reopened at 4 o'clock in the afternoon the first showing of a film in the Odeon Cinema in Beckenham. Yeah. And I was really pleased to be able to do that, because that started to feel like things were returning to normal again. And the nighttime economy in Beckenham is really important, so I was delighted to be able to do that. A few weeks earlier, or days earlier, I was also able to do a complete walkabout in Beckenham High Street. Many of you know that as a Cobblescope Ward Councillor, I represent the High Street in Beckenham, and it was a real delight to see the buzz that was there and the future looking really good for the traders in Beckenham, and them beginning to take on the idea that this was something that was coming to an end, and that we were going to get back to normal, and that trading would start again, and we would be welcoming a lot of footfall and a lot of people back into our high streets again, both during the day and in the evenings. That was a real special afternoon that I did that with Neil trailing on behind me. The final one was actually about 2 months ago, when I went to the Oaks vaccination centre in Penge,
and was able to thank the military who were there that day, NHS staff, and a huge group of volunteers from organisations like Rotary, who were really making the vaccination programme work in that area. And it was an immense privilege to be able to take part and just talk to those individuals and the people who are being vaccinated, and to see how it worked, and to see how slick and how organised that operation was. It was extremely impressive, and I commend any of you to, if you get a chance to go and see one of these vaccination centres in operation and support it, to please do so. Now, I feel as though I'm slightly like one of the comedians at the windmill, because I'm slightly at the fag end of this evening. However, I would point out one thing. You might have noticed that I don't really go in for the sort of dandy-esque aspects of the mayoral, deputy mayoral role. I have worn the uniform on a number of occasions. You saw in the film where I've done so. However, I would say one thing. I have fallen in love with the hat. Now, it probably reminds me a little of when I was about 17 and played the judge in Trial by Jury. But it also reminds me of the great Jack Aubrey and the tales of the Napoleonic Wars as seen through the eyes of the Royal Navy. I come from a slightly military family, so I've had great delight in being able to wear this splendid hat. And I now look forward to passing it on to my successor and to wish that individual a hugely successful year. And I'm sure it certainly will be. Thank you very much.
We now moved on to the second item on our agenda, to record the appointment of a deputy mayor as signified in writing by the mayor. Now, I'm absolutely delighted to announce that my deputy mayor will be Councillor Tony Owen of Petswood and Knoll Ward, who will be supported by his wife, Mrs. Rosie Owen. I am now handing the appointment to the Chief Executive. I will ask members for their patience whilst my Deputy Mayor-elect leaves the stage and returns in a few moments. I would ask you, members, for their patience, which we have, thank you very much. And we are now waiting on the Mr. Chairman. Do be seated. I would ask Deputy Mayor you have that. Item 3 to record apologies for the absence received for this meeting. Do we have them? Oh, I see. We now move on to item 3, to record the apologies for absence received for this meeting. Mr. Deputy Mayor, may I invite you to stand to make a brief personal speech.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I be the fourth to congratulate you on becoming Mayor. Thank you very much for the honour of making me your deputy. I will serve you and the borough to the very best of my ability. And finally, I hope that our 160 years of life experience will be put to good use. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, in view of the years which I have known Councillor Owen, this may be slightly off the record, but I feel that in view of his loyalty, recognition at our annual general meeting of a personal level is worth recording, more than worth. And I'm sure that his support during the coming year will be enormous, and I have no doubt whatsoever in my mind that being an accomplished bridge player, he will help me to build that bridge in a long-term sense for Bromley. Thank you for your digression. We now move on to item 4, to receive any declarations of interest. Are there any? Councillor Offer. Kindly note them, please.
Councillor Foffer, please.
Mr. Mayor, in relation to one of the items that is delegated authority, I have a planning application into the London Borough at this moment, and therefore it is covered by one of the items within those delegated authorities.
Thank you, Councillor Forthrop. We now move on to item 5. Item 5, to confirm the meetings of the Council held on the 19th of April 2021. Do members agree that the minutes for this meeting are signed as a correct record? Thank you, members. That's the dated. Okay, thank you very much. Now, in accordance with the arrangements in the Constitution, I will ask the Leader of the Council to address the meeting. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, if I may start by saying this year has achieved another first. 20 years, almost 19 certainly, I've been on this council, and it's the first year nobody knew who the Deputy Mayor was going to be until the evening, to the best of my knowledge. And I think that's because nobody could see who was scuttling up and down the back stairs to the office to get measured up for their robes and the like. So well done. That's an accomplishment, keeping that absolutely secret. Mr. Mayor, I'm going to scrap the 20-minute speech I was going to make around what the council's done the past year, other than to say it has been, as we've said on many occasions, an extraordinary 14 months. I think we've all been tested to new heights. I think we've all learned things about ourselves, the people we work with, the people that report to us, and the people we ask to do their jobs on behalf of the borough. And I, for one, am exceedingly proud to be a part of this council, a part of the membership, working with the officers and the staff that we have had, particularly those at the front line, some of whom quite literally put their health and safety on the line for the good of the borough. I think, Mr. Mayor, when you look around at those 4,600 volunteers that were immediately there to look after some 20,000 shielded residents, it just goes to show you the nature and the makeup of this borough, what fantastic people live here, and how lucky we are to be a small part of that for a passing moment in time. And it's been a period, I think, as well, where we've learned you don't have to have endless meetings discussing minutiae. When you know something needs doing, you can fast forward, you get stuff done, and it works. And I think we'll all take away from this experience different thoughts, be it around virtual meetings, be it around the need for physical meetings. There are things that we will have picked up that will serve us all very, very well moving to the future. And it's vital that we don't forget the lessons, particularly, if I may say so, around the volunteers and the voluntary sector. So I'm not going to go through on a department stroke by stroke. I want to tell you what the priorities are in my view, and these are not exclusive, but some of the things I really want us to push forward to keep the momentum of the last 14 months going. Mr. Mayor, the first and most important thing is the safety of our people, and around ACS and children's, looking after our vulnerable people, as always, has to be the priority. And in particular, and the emphasis, particularly post-COVID, does need to be around mental health and loneliness, both of which really, really form together in a desperate partnership we need to break. And one of the things that you will see now we've got the freedom to start to deliver some of this is that Councillor Cuthbert will be pressing that agenda ever more heavily, and I would encourage all members to get involved with that, because there are, as we know, an awful lot of pretty sad and lonely people out there that we need to get out and help. What are we going to do? We all know that financial tough times are just around the corner. The Council's been reasonably fortunate in recent years around the government funding. The government have bailed out local government, I think perhaps slightly more than many of us were expecting. That largesse can't last forever. We have debts of 2.2 odd trillion, it needs paying back. We talk of fairer funding, we know that fairer funding review is underway. Not everyone's going to be a winner out of that. We have to hope we are, but we need to plan for the worst and hope that we're pleasantly surprised. Mr. Mayor, another absolute must is our local economy. It has been touched upon on the Mayor's film, and I know it's something that Councillor Morgan in particular is desperately keen for us to grow and push, and that is the health of our shops, the health of our local businesses, and that is something, again, that we absolutely need to be on top of. And I know that Councillor Morgan will be leading very strongly on that ambition. We also must press on with our programme of providing housing for those in need. We've made a great start, I think. Some of the schemes that are now coming on stream are going to serve desperate people, give them homes, Bromley homes for Bromley people, we label it, and I think we've all come to learn that has to be the right thing to do, not just morally, which it clearly is, but equally financially as well. So we will be pressing on that. And Mr. Mayor, something else I want to press on, people talk about the green led recovery, etc. you can perhaps mean different things to different people when you say that, but one of the things I'm very, very keen for my administration to do, and I'm going to start it over the course of the next month or so through Councillors Huntington, Thresher and Councillor Harmer, is I want to see a huge proliferation of street trees planted across this borough. We have already, at the last stats I saw, more street trees than any other borough, there or thereabouts. We might have just slipped into the pack. One of the things I want to do is to vastly increase that number, to absolutely act as a symbol of our intent to become the first, hopefully carbon neutral borough in London by 2029. And there's a real challenge for all of us there, and I know it's one that we're all up to. Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to drone on. I could talk about our achievements, I think, all night. I just want to say and reiterate, I think this is a great borough. I think we're served with good people, great officers. I think our response to the pandemic has been second to none. And I know that the Chief Executive has had calls from other London boroughs, frankly saying, how do you do it? And I don't think you can pay a greater compliment to a Chief Executive of a local authority than that. Mr. Chief Executive, sir, thank you and thank your staff for everything you've done for us this last year. It has been absolutely outstanding. You should all be very proud of yourselves, and that's from not just me, but from everyone in Bromley. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. I now move to item 7 on the agenda, to appoint committees and their chairman and vice chairman. The proposals for membership of the committees, chairman and vice chairman, are set out in the agenda and the supplementary list. I call upon Councillor Christine Harris to move the appointment of councillors to the committees and the election of chairman and vice chairman of the committees. Is that moved? Thank you, Councillor Harris. Is that seconded?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, seconded.
Thank you, Councillor Huntington Thresher. Is that carried?
Agreed.
That is carried. We now move item 9, my announcements. It is much anticipated easing of lockdown measures in June, which we are all hopeful will continue and will come into being. I am keen to hold an Armed Forces Day ceremony on Thursday, the 24th of June. However, although the 21st of June is the intended end date from the roadmap, some safeguards would surely remain after this date. And as soon as we know what these are, the office will confirm the date and the arrangements. The next date for your diary is my civic service, which will be held on Sunday, the 27th of June at St George's Parish Church, High Street, Beckenham. And details of the service will be sent out shortly. And I would also like to add, members, with great respect, there is a commodious car park adjacent to the church, which is extremely convenient. In October, I am delighted to announce that I will be hosting an autumn ball at the Metropolitan Police Sports Club, the Warren, in Hayes. So may I ask you to hold Saturday the 16th of October in your diaries. It is a further attempt to revitalise our social life within the council. Finally, I again repeat my request and plea to the Churchill Theatre for allowing us the use of this wonderful venue for our meeting this evening. It was very generous of them, and I have asked for this to be recorded within the minutes of this meeting, which I know will be done. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you at some or all of my events during the course of this year. With a final note, I would ask you to consider my charities. On a more personal note, I take umbrage at seeing people working very hard to raise money, only to see it spent on 6-7-figure salaries and limousines of enormous value, where the people intended for that assistance are in many cases destitute and desperate. So after very careful thought, forgive the philosophical ramblings, but after careful thought, I've notified 2 charities, one which is worldwide, the Shipwrecked Mariners and Fishermen's Society, which if they lose their berth, they are in effect destitute. And money goes directly to those people. No frills at all. And as far as the almshouses are concerned, I'm delighted that they're Copus Coat Board, and I'm also the same criteria appears there, that our residents are very carefully looked after, and all of the trustees, and I make great stress of this, as I hope some person will take note of in future and bring this about. The trustees have no remuneration at all for all of their years of service. Thank you for your patience. Can I remind everyone that committees will meet quickly to appoint your subcommittees and their chairman. So may I ask everyone to remain in your seats for just a minute or so after I've left the meeting this evening. And again, my personal thanks to you all for your attendance and participation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, members. If we could now move on to the appointment of the subcommittees and their chairman and vice chairman, please. For development control, can Councillor Michael please move?
I move that the subcommittees be appointed as set out on pages 36 and 27 of the agenda.
Can Councillor Dare second, please? Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. And Councillor Tunnicliffe, can you move for the General Purposes and Licensing Committee?
I so move, Mr. Bowen, as they are laid out.
Councillor Turner, please second, please.
I second.
Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. And for the Adult Care and Health PDS committees, Councillor Allett, move, please.
I so move that they be approved as further pages.
And Councillor Ellis, can you second, please? Is that agreed? Thank you. And finally, for the Children Education and the Families PDS committee, can Councillor Dykes move, please? And Councillor Ellis, can you second, please? And that's agreed. Thank you very much. That concludes the meeting, and I've been asked to request that guests leave in the order of rows from the back, maintaining social distancing.